please stop teaching people how to play Magic the Gathering through Commander. Don't get me wrong, the format is great for onboarding, it's a fantastic social experiences, and one of the best formats in the game right now. But when it comes to learning the game through its rules or the individual cards in front of you, Commander provides a very limited and unstreamlined experience where you have a lot of untangibles. These guidelines like brackets and social interactions like politics, all of these provide a very random experience. No one Commander game is usually the same with each other, whereas you can have a whole lot of predictability when it comes to 1v1 60 card or 1v1 limited. And in today's video, I'm going to go over an interaction from a Reddit post talking about a feel bad experience where one person's lands were generally, not all, wiped out, and how that led to a certain reaction that I personally believe is because they probably learned the game through Commander first. We're not playing bracket 4, therefore this game action is illegal. Folks, you're gonna love this one. TLDR, a combination of effects would cause a high number of lands to get destroyed, not all, just some. One player said that forcing this would be illegal in our game, and therefore I would instantly lose. By the way, no CDH here. Found a pot in LGS and we started playing bracket 2 to 3, which is honestly a bit of a wild mix considering the effect of game changers, but regardless. I had my Creator Hoof Behemoth, Kamal Fist of Krosa in play, and 8+ mana open. The Kamal Fist is the important part here. My board wasn't wide enough just yet to go for the win. Notably, the thing to mention here is with Kamal, you have an activated ability of 5 that says creatures you control get +3/+3 and gain trample until the end of turn. So a very big kind of overrun effect. The trample, the +3/+3, the fact that you can activate it multiple times. Kamal is just a fantastic commander, or not even just commander, a creature. As you'll see in this post, Kamal wasn't the commander. Kamal was part of the 99. Target land becomes a 1/1 creature until the end of turn and still land. Notably, that activated ability can turn your lands into creatures to then animate, but it can also animate your opponent's creatures, which is what's going to be important here. In turn order, player A, B, C, D, they are D. C warns A and B that OP here is the problem, and that they would cast a board wipe to try and stop them. A plus B mentioned though that Kamal can animate anyone's lands. So player 3 in this case, C, turns to cast Damnation, and as expected, animated as many lands as possible, mainly his land, so that he would be destroyed. His response, player C, in frustration says, "Congratulations, you lost the game. Mass land denial isn't legal in bracket 2 and 3. One less opponent to worry about." What? Okay. Correct and incorrect. Yes, mass land destruction or mass land interactions, so you're thinking like Blood Moons and Magus of the Moons, generally speaking, not allowed, especially in bracket 2, mostly in bracket 3, beyond maybe some exceptions or an ample amount of rule 0 conversations. Obviously, I did not scoop my stuff and played on. Yes, I'd be like, what? Player A and B were both confused, and the moment I did not accept my loss, player C stands up and shouts, "Good job pub stomping with your mass land destruction deck in a bracket 2 game," leaves the table. Question to everyone in the audience right now: even though that player reacted childish, what is the etiquette regarding game actions that forced this? Of course, I was the last piece of the puzzle to enable mass land destruction, but is it true that I just can't take such game actions than there are against the rules of the bracket? And then in the edit, they're actually saying, the mention that Kamal isn't my commander. It's just in the 98 as a redundant overrun effect as well. The deck runs Kamal, Heart of Krosa, and Gilanra, Call of Wirewood as the so this is the commander here. I have Azuri's Predation in the deck, so there is an ability to go mass land destruction. So let's go through all of them. Kamal is the card of choice that we're talking about here. Azuri's Predation for 8 mana. For each creature your opponents control, create a 4/4 green Phyrexian Beast token, and for each of those tokens then fights a different one of those creatures. So you could activate a bunch of your opponent's lands into 1/1 creatures, cast Azuri's Predation, and then destroy a bunch of those lands. It is mass land destruction. It is not all lands. The amount of mana required to do this is like absolutely insane. You're definitely targeting one person. If this was the combo that you're getting off, the commander, Gilanra, Caller of the Wirewood, add 1 blue mana. It's a 3 mana, like, mana rock here. When you spend this mana to cast a spell with converted mana cost 6 or greater, draw a card. So you can imagine, you know, Azuri's Predation, gonna draw you a card. Kamal, gonna draw you a card. So it kind of makes sense, right? You play a bunch of ramp, you start casting big things, you draw cards. A pretty simple deck in that sense. Is this a legal game action? No, it is. Let me just get this out of the way. No, it is not. You did not build your deck around this. This is an interaction that your opponent had that creates a unique game state that you can take advantage of. It is not illegal to do anything. The bracket systems are just guidance. They are in my opinion, a better version of the bracket 10 system or the pick 10 system that was just really convoluted. No one knew what the definition of a 7 or an 8 is. The vagueness of the bracket system actually allows for a good blanket to cover vast majority of decks out there. There is some nuances between 1 and 2 and 4 and 5. 3 tends to be the great gaping chasm that the majority of players, I believe, anecdotally are in. But they're not hard rules, so you don't just instantly lose for playing them. Of course, if you are pub stomping like the opponent said, then yes, you're doing something bad. It's not illegal, okay? So I'm going to touch on that. I keep touching on the illegality of it, but I'm going to touch on the main point of this. So it's not a hard and fast rule unless you are purposefully playing this as a combination. You are always tutoring from this. You're playing bracket 3, so you're limited in what you can include as a game changer. You're not even playing black, I assume anyway, so you're not going to have like ample ways to tutor this. And so there are many reasons why this is perfectly fine. It is one piece of mass land destruction. It costs so much mana. It doesn't even destroy everyone's lands. It's fine. This interaction overall is fine. Like your opponent just has to realize there are downsides to do things. It's like when you interact with something, if you were to wipe one person out, all of a sudden those players' stuff that maybe you took control of disappear. These are active like problems with your decisions, right? These are the consequences of the framework that you're putting this game under. Okay. The way I wanted to take this video was, I think it's come time and time again in like the last 2 weeks. The children yearn for the minds. And in this case, the children are Magic players and the minds are rules, okay? The children, the Magic players yearn for competitive Magic, okay? I think Commander players overall, with the anecdotal vast majority of players being casual and less so from there being Commander versus 1v1 constructed players, when it comes to Commander players, a good percentage of them learned Magic by getting into Commander, which is the problem. Commander doesn't have a widespread group of hard and fast rules. A lot of them are intangible and a lot of them are enforced being intangible. They are not provided by Wizards of the Coast. You have your deck building restrictions, 99 cards, 1 commander, or partner commanders and 98. It's just overall, it's a 100 card singleton deck with a commander or 2 at the helm. Maybe in the future, you can have 3 and 4. Who the heck knows? And 1 companion, I guess. More and more, it'll get there. And you are in a multiplayer game or even in a 1v1 game, it doesn't matter. But you have all these intangible rules, the ideas of making deals and the way that you can, you know, go about different etiquette of you shouldn't be destroying lands, even if it's single target land destruction, which I've talked about in a previous video, how that is something that many players, if not all Commander players, should be running. You should be running options to remove lands. Lands are like the #1 thing in any game of Commander that like slips under value, and a lot of people don't realize they're losing to. Many people don't realize that they're losing to just their opponent having more lands than them and being able to cast more spells on average than them. So when it comes to these rules, these Commander players get into these situations like this Commander game where they are not able to win the game. They have been taken out of that race by a misunderstanding of a rule that wasn't even a rule. It was just a framework to guide a game, the bracket system. And because of that, because of their lack of experience in hard wins and hard losses, just very, very hard and fast rules, right? They are set in place. They're structured. They are cement blocks of win and lose, like you get in 1v1 60 card constructed environments, like Pauper, like heck, even Limited, which is 40 card. In these environments, you lose because You might flood, you might not draw your lands, and you might just not draw the right cards, or you lose to the play draw. But you have to accept certain levels of variance in them, and you grow to accept these things and realize even small things like you can make all the correct decisions and still lose, but it doesn't mean that you made incorrect decisions. It's one of the easiest things to learn as a mid to expert level combo player. Sometimes you just have to go for it. Sometimes you go for your line, your opponent has the hate, or they have the very unique piece. It doesn't mean it wasn't incorrect to go for it there. And so all these things that you learn from playing 1v160 card constructed are lost on so many commander players. I see it time and time again. You always see it on these Reddit posts. You hear it anecdotally from people talking about weird small town LGSs or ones where people barely play, like all these feel bad situations where I believe, in my personal opinion, it is the fact that people are learning Magic through Commander and are working with these intangible rules and are not able to accept losses in games where you can expect anything. Commander is the most random format that Magic has to offer. Truly, it is probably, in my opinion, very close to Momir Vig. Momir Vig, probably top 5 formats in Magic overall. Just another one of my personal takes. But it is so close to Momir Vig in randomness because of the average card your opponent could be running, how they interact, how the social dynamics of two friends playing together can change the game, how the deals can change. No one game between the same 4 players will ever be the same. It will not play out the same way. It may play out to the same end, but how you get there is different. How you get there might be the same, but the end might be different. And so all these differences lead to the idea that people grasp at rigidity. They grasp at consistency. They grasp at a pattern, and they want to win in a certain way. They want to see wins not happen through infect, not happen through mass land destruction and their resources being denied, not losing through combo, right? Even though in a video earlier this week, I talked about how there's functionally no difference to natural order into something like a Crater of a Behemoth versus Thassa's Oracle Demonic Consultation. Again, in some situations, I would actually argue there are more hoops to jump through in the Demonic Consultation Thassa's Oracle win line. There are in my opinion, there are situations where there are more hoops to jump through. You will always be playing creatures in your Crater Hoop Behemoth deck, in your green deck. You will have the mana. You will just be able to play these out. You will create a board and you'll be able to swing in. And so again, Commander players are not realizing that there are situations where you can create controlled environments between matchups. You know how in Modern an Affinity deck will generally play out. You know generally how a Boros Energy deck will play out. In Pauper, you know how Mono Red Burn is going to play out versus something like, I don't know, Walls combo. The combo is the same the whole time. How you get there might differ, but the combo is the same the whole time. And so in Commander, where there's all this variance and people are introduced through these false rigidity, like these false kind of walls, right? That are just completely thin glass walls of their casual local environment, where whether they allow proxies or not, which is a whole other thing, they learn to play the game through a set group of commanders, whether that be through commanders that are control heavy or combo heavy, or likely just play to the board more. They then take that experience and bring that to the LGS and create these feel bad situations, telling other people what they're doing is illegal. This situation is two things coming together to create a crazy scenario that feels bad for one person, but it is not a controlled environment. The OP here did not mean for this to happen, but it is a situation that they were able to create or take advantage of that was created for them because of the resources they had. They simply took advantage of the situation. It's like saying someone found a $5 bill on the ground, and they are now a bad person because they didn't take that $5 bill, go to the police office and report it missing for someone else. I don't know what to tell you. That $5 is mine. Okay, I'm gonna pick it up. I'm gonna look around. I'm gonna make sure I'm not getting pranked, and then I'm gonna take it and be on my way. Someone dropped their $5, whatever, right? Maybe I'll look around and maybe I'll see someone that dropped it and I'll return it to. I'll be that good Samaritan. If I'm in the middle of nowhere and there's a little $5 on the ground, that $5 is mine. I don't know what to tell you. I'm taking advantage of the situation. Okay, we've seen time and time again in multiple videos, multiple creators have talked about this. you know, when it comes to game theory and, you know, the distraction makers made a very good video about this recently, how, you know, what the optimal way is to play in a game of Commander. You just, when it comes to life in general, take advantage of the situation while being as moral as possible. Right? And you don't even need to be as moral as possible. Technically, the way capitalism works is you are set up to be actually succeed by being the most evil person in the room. Time and time again, you will see in real life scenarios, it does not serve you to actually, on average, be a good person. I am setting you a moral framework of saying you should probably try and take advantage of the situation as much as possible while being a moral person. Okay? Now, with that in mind, that is exactly what happened here. Kamal is not in the deck to be a mass land destruction commander, but it is actually pretty funky, good insurance for board wipes. If you wipe my board, you lose your lands. And so if you want to do that, you now have to individually remove my creature. It's not protection, but you have to individually remove my Kamal and then deal with my stuff. That's a pretty fair ask. And so again, Commander players learning the game are not understanding or going through the highs and lows of high school football. Shout out to those of you that understand that reference, but they are not getting the up and down of losing to variance, to skill, or your own mistake. And in this situation, knowing the knowledge that they had, they see what is going on. They see the damnation and the Kamal and its interaction. A and B warn them. They then go to the intangible fake rule out of the cloud. And they tell everyone, oh, this is illegal. You're out of this game, mister. It's illegal. What are you talking about? What? I'm just playing a game. Get good. What are you on about right now? And so this post just really reminded me, again, in summary, that Commander is one of the worst formats to teach someone how to play Magic. It truly is. It is great as an initial onboarding. It is great as a social experience. It is fantastic at both of those, honestly. There are many Magic players out there that are doing that and enjoying the game to that level. But when it comes to these feel bad situations and players understanding Magic on a deeper level, you will not get a better experience than experiencing a 1v1 constructed or limited environment to learn interactions such as resolving a stack, deep layers, especially if you play like Eternal formats like Pauper, Legacy, Vintage. If you get to experience these formats at any high level, you will learn so much. You will learn so much about individual cards, so much about how cards interact with each other, how certain rules work, how literally, I was recording a game today where my opponent had a Chalice on one. And I realized that what I could do is if my opponent cast a colorless spell, I thought that, oh yeah, I have an Extirpate in hand, which is a surgical extraction with split second. I'm going to cast this Extirpate and then cast a Consign to Memory with my Replicate to counter the Chalice trigger on my Extirpate to get rid of a card, right? To get rid of a card. But then I remembered I can't actually cast that in response to Split Second. So Split Second I really needed to resolve, but I couldn't do so because if this was a surgical extraction, it would actually be better. But Split Second being actually in general better wasn't actually better in this specific scenario because I needed to respond to it and counter the Chalice trigger. Triggers can go off in Split Second. You just can't activate any other abilities. And so that is the beauty of these Eternal formats where you get like these really cool interactions overall. It's the best parts of Magic that you get to learn. It's the ability to understand when you just have to take an L and when something is against you. And even with the information in front of you, you just have to work with that. And instead of leaning towards rules that don't make any sense, maybe work to some politicking, look to the other players and say, they are the problem. I have a board wipe in hand. Can we work to some way to bounce that Kamal or deal with it in some type of way? Maybe before it gets to my turn. Is there something that we can do to deal with this Kamal? Group up together, use the resources at your hand, not something that isn't even in the game. And this is, I think, again, for the third or fourth time, a symptom of people learning the game through Commander and not realizing that none of these, like half of these intangibles aren't rules. They don't make any sense, and calling a game action illegal doesn't make any sense. That doesn't hold any thing. It's like when you get in an argument with someone, you're like, my dad's a lawyer, I'm gonna sue you. All right, bud, get good. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Anyway, I could ramble on about this forever. But I thought this was a good post to just highlight. Commander players, I beg you, especially newer ones, take the time to, even if it's not 1v1 60 card constructed, go to pre-release, have some limited events, go try out some Pauper online, play some Magic Arena, like experience 1v1 Magic, even in a small form on a consistent basis if you're able to. You will improve in not only your Magic skills, but in your card knowledge. There were so many things you will discover of cards that you did not know of, and it will only serve to improve your experience on the table, off the table, wherever it is you're playing our beautiful game.